White Blood Cell Production Modeling Project. This is by Paisley Muller. First, in order to discuss white blood cell production, we have to cover and learn about blood in general. Blood consists of two components, plasma and serum. It has three major elements, red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. We will be going over the majority of white blood cells. Blood is 55% plasma, and 45% formed elements. So formed elements can be white blood cells and whatnot. White blood cells are also known as leukocytes. Where is white blood cells made? First, white blood cell production begins in the red bone marrow. During the embryo, which is the beginning stages of life, in which you are in the placenta, in the mother's womb, it occurs in the yolk sac, the liver, spleen, thymus, lymph nodes, and red bone marrow. When you become an adult, it only occurs in red bone marrow of flat bones. That's very specific because it does not occur in any other type of bones. Flat bones are bones of the sternum, ribs, skull, pelvis, and the ends of long bones. The cells that are involved in white blood cell production are myeloid stem cells, progenitor cells, and hemocytoblasts. Hemocytoblast cells are blood cells that are formed from a hematopoietic stem cells. These stem cells are responsible for helping with platelet and white blood cell production. This is the first step in white blood cell production. Myeloid stem cells are cells that are made from hemocytoblasts, so this would be the second step in white blood cell and platelet formation because it comes after the hemocytoblasts. Myeloid stem cells get turned into progenitor cells. Progenitor cells are the third step in white blood cell and platelet formation. These cells developed all the formed elements of blood, which makes up roughly 45%. They just do not create lymphocytes. Progenitor cells are very important in white blood cell production because they are one of the final steps and they help to form the different white blood cells. There are a couple different types of specific cells that are involved in creating white blood cells. Monoblasts are moving cells of the spleen and bone marrow. These cells help to create monocytes, in which monocytes move to the blood and move around and have mobility. Myelocytes are baby cells of the granulocytic series, which means that they are made with granules, so they will have little tiny bumps found in their cytoplasm. These cells are only found in the bone marrow, but they are never in circulating blood. The only time that a doctor or a nurse would find these type of cells in the blood is when they are there due to different diseases. And blast cells are immature first steps, I guess you could say, of either lymphocytes, which are also known as lymphoblasts, or granulocytes, or myeloblasts. These blast cells show whether or not they're going to turn into one or the other. Lymphoid stem cells are cells that create lymphocytes, which are a type of white blood cell. Band cells are cells that lead to a mature granulocyte. They usually appear in segments and bands. This is why they have the name band cells. So this picture shows the 5 different types of white blood cells: neutrophil, eosinophil, basophil, monocyte, and lymphocyte. The neutrophil, eosinophil, and basophil are known as granulocytes, in which I will cover later on. Monocytes are agranulocytes, and lymphocytes as well are agranulocytes. This next picture shows more microscopic and realistic pictures, and it also shows the division of granulocyte versus agranulocyte. Lymphocytes are created from lymphoid stem cells. They are cells of the lymphatic system. Lymphocytes are made of T cells, B cells, and natural killer cells. Lymphocytes generally make up 20 to 25% of white blood cell. What their function is in white blood cell production is they provide specific defense against pathogens and toxins that are found in the body. When a lymphocyte has eaten an antigen or a disease or bacteria, not a bacteria, a pathogen, it turns into a lymphoblast because it is enlarged due to stimulation by antigens. When a lymphocyte has eaten an antigen and become a lymphoblast, what happens is the antigen that it is eaten, the cell then has the ability to either recognize or destroy the pathogen or toxin that it is eaten. And what this means is it can recognize an antigen in a memory state of the cell, or it can eliminate the antigen in an effector state, which will get rid of it altogether. A neutrophil is a pink-purple granulocyte. It is trilobe nuclei, which means it has 3 nuclei. As seen in the picture, you see the 3 lobes of the nucleus, and you see the pink-purple little dots that are in the cell. Neutrophils ingest bacteria by phagocytosis, and phagocytosis is it eats it. It consumes the bacteria. And then once the bacteria has been consumed, it releases enzymes to destroy the bacteria. Basophils are purple granulocytes, so it has purple bumps in the cytoplasm, and it has bumps visible. These are similar to mast cells, and what basophils do is they aid in mobility, and their main function is to enter damaged tissues and release histamine. And histamine is a chemical in which it will increase blood flow to the specific and damaged area. Normally, histamine is found in allergic reactions. And other chemicals are released as well to promote inflammation. Eosinophils are orange granulocytes. They are bilobed, so they have 2 lobe nuclei instead of 3. And eosinophils are closely related with parasites and allergens. For example, eosinophil numbers would be higher in someone who is infected with tapeworm. They promote action of basophils in mast cells. So what they do is they help get rid of bacteria and pathogens. And they have enzymes that block the excess inflammation and limit the action of histamine, whereas basophils try to release histamine. Eosinophils kind of walk hand in hand and help to limit the amount released. Eosinophils engulf labeled materials and release cytotoxic enzymes. Cytotoxic means that it will kill whatever is being targeted. It reduces inflammation and increases eosinophils in allergic reaction. So when you have an allergic reaction to peanuts and whatnot, you normally take an antihistamine drug, but what eosinophils does is it attacks the infected area. So for example, if your throat closed, eosinophils would travel to the blood area of your throat and the tissue, and it would reduce the inflammation, and it would try to release help to lower the swelling. Monocytes are cells that move from the bloodstream of the body to tissues like the lymph nodes, and lungs. What monocytes do is they engulf pathogens or debris found in the body, and then they eat and process antigens. But most importantly, monocytes are very active in the role of antigen presenting. And antigen presenting is where there's a little flag on a blood cell that shows whether it's positive or negative or RH, and basically tells the body, hey, don't attack me, I'm a good guy. And monocytes mature into macrophages. So finally, covering granulocytes versus granulocytes. Granulocytes are cells that contain granules or tiny little bumps in their cytoplasm. Those would be examples such as neutrophils, basophils, and eosinophils. Agranulocytes mean the lack of granules. They have 1 nuclei, and they are 1-lobed. The prefix A means without, so agranulocytes means without granulose. So colony-stimulating factors, they are specific hormones that are used to regulate the populations of white blood cells, so if the body gets overpopulated, these would kick into effect. It is the specific target tissues of the hormone that is known as the CSF. There have been 4 identified CSFs. They are MCSF, GCSF, GM-CSF, and multi-CSF. MCSF produces and stimulates monocytes, or stimulates the production of monocytes. GCSF stimulates the production of granulocyte white blood cells. Again, those would be neutrophils, basophils, eosinophils. GM-CSF stimulates the production of both granulocytes and monocytes, so it's a combination of the two above. And multi-CSF accelerates the production of granulocytes, monocytes, platelets, and red blood cells. That one is basically just concerned with blood altogether.